Julia and Leanne. There you go. I think I covered everyone's name. How are you all?
Good.
Yeah, good. Sun shining. It's nice, isn't it? Makes change. Hey. Um, so putting it all together. New IoIC branding in effect. Very roughly and quickly from me. So I'm sure next year's cohort slides will look even better. Hi, Kelly. And if you haven't seen it yet, you can go onto IOIC's website. I've got all new branding and a bit of a revamp. And actually, the website looked a lot cleaner and simpler to navigate, even if I do say so myself. We're going to start today with your questions. So I will then go through the content and my slides, but I thought let's start with the questions you have, because then you miss the search bar. Oh no, is there no search bar?
Not as far as I could see, but I might have missed it. I've been trying to find stuff. I
Maybe
will
we
get
need a
there.
search bar for the search bar. That's
Well, maybe.
Hey Kelly, lovely to see you. Okay, cool. I didn't miss that, but as in like I didn't not see it. Hi Tamsin as well. So I'm going to start with your questions, and then I'm going to sort of adapt the session to where you want to go. Simon.
Yeah, just a quick one, Chris. How do you differentiate when something should be a figure in your chapter or an item in your appendix? I'm struggling a bit with that.
All right, cool. I'm going to write that down. Figure versus appendix item. Okay, that's cool. Anything else? What else? What else do you have for me, people? Claire.
How many tables, infographics, etc. is acceptable versus seen as right? Come on now, you're taking the mickey here with your word count.
Yeah, okay, cool. Uh, Gemma, were you next? I think. Sorry.
Do you put all of your figures and appendices and references at the end of each chapter, or do you consolidate them all at the end together?
Cool. Amy?
Um, when we're talking about internal stuff, like within our org, when and where do we bring in evidence, and how much do we need to have that evidence involved, if that makes sense? Can we just say something and that's enough, or do we always have to kind of prove that that's the feedback and that's, yeah, the stats?
Wicked. Okay. Good question. Thank you. Any more for any more?
So I can't see my hand up button being quite clear.
We could do this.
If you've reviewed our chapters and we've made the changes that you suggested on most of them, would you have let us know if you think we're likely to fail?
I'll answer that one now. I can informally and unofficially tell you that I don't think it will fail, but you can't hold me accountable for that opinion. And I know that sounds proper slopey shoulder slippery, but ultimately, if the examiner reads something different to how I read it, I can't control that.
Yeah.
What I can say of all the and I haven't seen drafts from everybody, but what I've seen, I was literally actually just saying this to Stella before you all joined, and Stella can support me here. I can't see anybody that's going to fail. Like, I'm not worried about anyone failing. That is with the caveat of someone else is going to mark it. Now, as you start sending me stuff through, if I think there's some real like, ooh, that one, probably not going to get through, I can flag it, but um, but I'm not supposed to, I guess is what I would say. So it stays between us, although I accept that this has been recorded. So we'll just delete that after. Anyway, so yeah. There'll be a new advanced diploma facilitator next year. I would flag it if I was worried.
Great, thanks.
But I don't know. So if I look at your group, yeah, I dislike it too, Victoria, but don't worry. If I look at your group projects, there were some bits that I had a different view on some of your feedback. Like, but everybody passed. So that bit we were consistent on. Leanne. Or Kelly, and then we'll come back to Leanne.
I wouldn't mind some pointers on like design and look and feel. So I'm using a template in Canva at the moment because design is not my bag. And then suddenly I'm thinking, what if another 5 people use the same template that I'm using?
Okay, cool. Leanne.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, my internet completely kicked me out. What was my questions? I missed a load of chunk of conversation. Mine was around, it sounds like someone else has put it, design, look and feel. So especially with the new branding, whether we incorporate any of that. And the second bit was, what's the cutoff time for you reviewing any work of ours? Have you got like a, nope, I'm not looking at anything after this time?
Oh, okay. Okay. Cut off time for CC to review. Okay. Gemma.
Mine is actually linked to Leanne because it's there, but I've got some titivating to do. And my question was, in reality, if we all send you our final portfolios a week before the deadline, I'm assuming you're not going to have time to review it. So that was my question of how late is it to get something to you to give you sufficient time to be able to read it?
Brilliant. Okay. Shall we start there? Maybe that's the easiest thing. So, actually, 1 second. I'm gonna be flipping between my slides. Okay. I will cover everything, but also I don't want to cover things that aren't going to be useful to you. This is my suggested timeline for you. Okay. So my suggestion is by the 18th of May, you've got a final draft, and if you want a one-to-one with me, right? If it's after that, I can cope work-wise, but it's then you incorporating that feedback. If you are yet to share me any draft, the risk you have is when I do come back and say, have you got enough time to address those points, right? So that's really up to you. But my suggested timeline is Monday the 18th is Friday 22nd of May is not the right date, sorry. Monday the 18th of May is your like final over to Chris and have a look. And then Friday, oh no, Friday is the 22nd. Apologies. Oh, yeah, Friday is the right one. Friday 22nd of May, if I were you, I would be looking to finish and submit then, because then I'd have a really lovely bank holiday that isn't stressy doing your work. That would be how I would do it. And I would kick back, relax, and feel quite good about myself, accepting that you don't know what your mark is. That would be how I would do it. If you have questions on Friday the 18th, I will check in on my emails that weekend, but that is super late. Like, I think that's really, really risky. So I think you want to have had everything you need from me by I would say the beginning of that week, by that Monday. If you send it to me on the Monday, you'll have it back usually within 48 hours to then address.
Oh, thank you, Nat. I appreciate that.
That's okay. Make sense?
But I will drop you a message if.
Can anyone else hear another guy talking? Me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I was like, is it me? Am I so tired I'm now hearing voices?
It was weird because it sounded like he was actually responding to you.
Right? That's why I was like, yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
When he said thank you. And then I was like, wait a minute, there's only me and Simon that have man voices. Cool. Okay. That's my suggested timeline. And also if you get proper stuck, like just let me know and I'll flex around you. Like I don't mind checking stuff at weekends or evenings. I really don't. But the more heads up you give me for it, the easier it is for me to organize that. Okay. Should you incorporate the new IoIC branding? We'll talk about this as a broader design thing. It's not a formal IoIC report as such, but when I did my masters, I used IoIC branding and the red because it was an IoIC course. So I think you can use it. I mean, I really like the bias, but I love. It's just all Simon's comment. I really like it. I'd be tempted to use it. And yeah, I would be tempted to use it because I really like it. I think the more imagery you have, whether that's graphs, so if you think about how you display trends and feedback and stuff like that, having images in there is who's BRHI in the waiting room?
That would be Rich. He just messaged saying he was struggling to get
Oh,
in. Or he didn't have the link. I just sent him the link. So I think that'll be Rich.
okay, perfect. Thank you. I'll let him in.
Here he is. Hey, Rich.
Hi guys, sorry I'm late.
That's okay. We're just going through questions that people have. So if you've got some, we'll answer those as well. So from a design perspective, where you get your points is demonstrating your knowledge. Okay. How you demonstrate your knowledge is through the applicable, the appropriate application of sources into your work. Okay. So you need to demonstrate that you understand the sources. That will be judged on how you've applied them, how you've synthesized them, so brought them together. So actually Quirk's escalator, Smythe's co-creation 4-box model, there's lots of similarities in those. And how you've criticized them. So media richness theory, yeah, it says face-to-face is the best for delivering difficult news, but hey, I'm in a global organization in 12 countries. It doesn't really take account of that. Yeah? Synthesizing, so where there's similarities, critiquing, and how you've applied them. So not just like Quirk says that and I did what Quirk said. Like why? Why is that right for your organization? And some of you I've seen, and excuse me, because all the drafts start to blow into one at this point. Some of you have done really good jobs on that when you've done things like stakeholder mapping. Actually, this model is way too complicated for my organization because we don't even know who our stakeholders are. This is the model I'm using, and this is why I'm using that model, because it's simple. And actually, I've brought a little bit of this model in. So you're demonstrating that you understand it by how you're using it and how you've chosen what you're using. That's where all your points are. If you do that really well, and you've got a document that is just a Word document, you will do better than someone who doesn't demonstrate knowledge but has the best looking design portfolio in the world. You'll do way better. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do design, but I would definitely focus on getting my narrative right and getting that as good as it can be. Personally, I think you should keep design simple and professional. And I would have that, what I would really focus on is white space. So, if you're starting a new chapter, start a new page. Think about your gap between your text, like 1.2, 1.5 maybe. Think about headlines and subheadlines so it breaks it up so the reader can flow. Because actually, the important bit about your design isn't necessarily it looks really nice. It helps the reader go through your report without it feeling too cumbersome. Yeah, so if you're breaking those texts up, that really, really helps. I think then visuals are always good. So figures, graphs, pie charts, maybe pull quotes as well if you use those. You can use, last year a couple of students used photos, so where they quoted their manager, they had a photo of their manager. Like, I don't think you need to do that, but if you want to do that, you can do it. I think it's more about design that works. I'm not allowed to show you past year examples of design, but if you go into any sort of, if you look at organizations' sustainability reports, annual reports, anything like that, like reports, you'll get an idea. Just bear in mind, they're going to be at the very top level because they would have spent thousands with, external design consultants. But think about what, like you've done with your theories, think about the bits you can take without overburdening yourself on how it on designing it. And then whether you've got Canva, or if you use any would it be okay, Stella, to use AI just for design, not for writing?
I would avoid it as best as you can, just so it doesn't. I don't know. It's such a difficult line, isn't it?
Maybe use it for ideas. So maybe
Yeah.
like use it as in, like, if you use Google's Canvas feature or any of the other AI models, maybe just like ideas or whatever, ideas of templates, and then create your own template from it. I think that's probably okay. Simon.
I know when we did the group project, we did see an example there. Are we all right to kind of replicate that in our portfolio, that kind of style of design?
Yeah, and all three groups, the design was good, right? I mean, some of you had more like imagery and photos, but the design was good. And I guess that's my point. Like, your design needs to be good. It doesn't need to, like, it shouldn't be like, oh my God, this is a work of art. It's good and it's functional. Kelly.
Could I use a Capgemini report template and take out the Capgemini logo?
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea.
Okay. Do I reference it then?
As in the report template?
Yeah.
No, because it wouldn't give any value to the overall portfolio, and I wouldn't use the word count. Stella?
A couple of questions in the chat. So,
sorry.
Amy said, I'm assuming headlines and subheadlines still come out of the word count.
You assume correctly.
And then we've got one from Victoria. Question: were we trying to get feedback from managers, colleagues on aspects of... Yeah, you can read it.
We make such a good team. Yeah, so what you don't want to do, so think about the end user, right? So think about that person's reading your report, okay? And they read your report and it says, feedback from my manager was positive, see Appendix 4. And it's like, okay, now I have to go to Appendix 4. Like, that's a bad user experience. And if you provide a bad user experience, what you risk is their frame of mind is a negative frame of mind. And that's just human nature that impacts how they read it. So I would put something like, I would either put a snippet of the email as an image, which is back to one of the questions we'll get to in a moment. So, like, actually, here's a photo of the email. If you want to do flashy design, it's on a phone or whatever. Or I would say feedback from my manager indicated that this was a useful exercise or that it was well received. So summarize their feedback. What you don't need to do is like use your word count for their 120 word email that basically said you did a good job. So I would have it, I wouldn't just say see appendix for the email. What was their main point? And then reference it down in the appendix or use it as an image. Simon, if you saved it as an image, as in a JPEG or PNG, and you import it, then it doesn't count. But one of the other questions, how much is too much? There is a balance, right? So I think if you've got tables for everything, I think that sort of is a bit like they'll sniff a bit of a rat. I can't tell you how many. I can't say it's 6, it's 5, it's 14. But use them, but just make sure they make sense. So if, for example, you were reading it objectively and you thought, why is this in a table? Like, what's the purpose of a table? Because really, if you think about a table, it's about comparing, summarizing, these types of things. And if you think like, oh, that doesn't make sense to be in a table, the chances are they might think that as well. How many tables images? So do you put all figures and appendices at the end of the chapter? Is that the end? So I would have like, here are the 7 principles of Cialdini's influencing in a table, because like there's 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I would then, as I get to the end of my chapter, I wouldn't then have my references. All my references in chapter 1 go at my end with all my references in alphabetical order, okay? And they do not count in your word count. So your referencing doesn't count in your word count, and you only need to have in your references ones that you have cited, that you've used. So for example, if I've read, I don't know, if I've read Cialdini but not referenced him, I don't need to include that in my references. It's not a bibliography. I think there was some confusion about that on a different call. So it's only the ones you've referenced in the above. Elena.
Sorry, I think I've messed with your screen by accident. I'm really sorry. I was trying to unmute myself and now I have a pen. So maybe that's just on me, but I'll make sure not to click anything.
Draw away.
One of the questions was, so do you, for all of the appendices, do you have one, or is it Appendix 1 for Chapter 1, Appendix 2 for Chapter 2?
No, your appendices should be individual and flow through your report. So if you're mentioning see the appendix, it's see the appendix, Appendix 1, which is then your appendix item 1. And then maybe further in the chapter, you talk about Appendix 2, see Appendix 2. So obviously, in your intro, one of the things you're probably all going to have is see Appendix 1 SWOT report. Probably, unless you're going to put your whole SWOT report in your word count, like which, if that's what you want to do it. I definitely wouldn't do that. That will probably be appendix number 1. And then it flows through 1 to however many you've got. I'll be really honest with you. I don't think lots of appendices add a lot of value. So I wouldn't worry about adding lots of things. My focus would be on my narrative, and I would use the appendices for stuff that's got so much more detail, but you really think that the examiner should have access to it. So if you do it, let's say you reference a staff survey, right? And you say 85% of staff believe that face-to-face communication is more effective than online as part of our staff survey. I wouldn't put the entire staff survey as the appendix because it doesn't add anything. Like, what adds is that you've done that. I would use it for like my SWOT. I would say my SWOT identified 3 areas of development: stakeholder, channel management, influencing. Full SWOT is Appendix 1. That I would put in there. But things like full staff survey, like I really don't think that would add value.
But each item is its own appendix. It's not one appendix per chapter, including each item. Does that
Yes,
make
each
sense?
item
Yeah,
right at the end. Yeah. Each item right at the end under the headline of appendix. Yeah. Does that answer your question? I'm not sure I've answered your question, if I've misunderstood you.
No, I think that does. So basically each new item is its own appendix. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
But you don't need to label it appendix each time. It's one headline appendix and everything goes in underneath it. Like all the pages, once you've had that, a bit like the referencing, once you've got that headline, all the referencing sit underneath it. I feel like I haven't answered your question. Yeah.
I think it might be one where as soon as I see it, it makes more sense, as in when I'm practicing it myself. So it makes sense what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Gemma.
Oh, am I off mute? Yes. So I'm slightly confused. So I have put, if you put all your references together at the end and you put them alphabetical, you might have a reference that you've used in chapter 1, then one you've used in chapter 3, and then one you've used in chapter 2, and then another used in chapter 1. But the way I've
Correct.
done it at the moment is I've gone chapter 1, here's my list of references, and they are alphabetical. Chapter 2, here's my list of references, and they're alphabetical. Is that wrong? So I just need to merge them.
You should merge them. If I'm
Okay.
honest, I don't think
Yeah.
that's going like I wouldn't die in a ditch over that. I don't think that's like massively important. But it's one long list of referencing, and
Okay.
actually, your top reference might be the last reference you used in the whole
Okay,
report because
that's
it's
fine.
alphabetical.
And would you do the same? I've done the same with like my figures. So I've numbered the figures for chapter 1 as like 1.1, 1.2, and then I've started in chapter 2, I've used 2.1, 2.2. Is that wrong as well? Do I need to just run them all on?
I would do it that way, but you have a choice. Either way would be acceptable. I would do all of my figures in chapter 1 would be 1, 1.1,
Yeah, that's
1.1,
what
and
I've
then
done. And
2.
then
That's how I would do it.
2.2
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
3. And I've done the same
Yeah.
with my appendices. I've done like appendix 1.0 is for chapter 1, appendix 2.0 is chapter 2, etc., etc. It's again, do I need to merge them or
That's also okay,
it's
but you
just the
could do it either
references?
way. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I'm doing it right.
Don't be sorry. That's why we have this call. I'm going to
You
go to
just
chat and
don't
then come
want the
back to you.
examiner, like you say, to be detracted by stuff like that, because then they're not reading and understanding what you're trying to say and looking at how much you've learned. They're going, oh, this person hasn't followed the rules, or they haven't bothered to think about that.
Exactly. And also, don't want to create more work for you, like either. Victoria, give me 1 sec. I'll come right back to you. So, Leanne, if you did it as a Word doc essay, like that is okay. I think you're better doing it as a report with a bit of design, because although we all accept 3,500 words isn't a lot to write, it's a lot to read when you're reading 18 of those. But if you wanted to just do a Word doc essay, that's also okay. Claire, running order: intro, report, appendices, references. Is it appendices, references, or references, appendices? Let me go double check that. But either way, appendixes, references, that wouldn't be a big deal. But absolutely, intro, and I would keep that intro quite short. So the only thing, I assume, in where you say report, you're including conclusion as well. So you have, yeah, brilliant. So intro, objective 1, 2, 3, overall conclusion that references a reflective learning model. That's really important. So what, now what, which is Rolfie. I never know how to say their name. Rolf, or Kolb, plan, do, review, theorize, something like that. The brief list references before appendix. Brilliant. Thank you, Simon. Produced mine as a Word document so far. Gemma, that honestly, it's fine. And I would say the design, for me, the most important bits of the design are the heads and subheadings, because it breaks it up. And if you can, some figures, some images, some graphs, something that's just a bit visual. In terms of like bringing photos of you, your team, and stuff like that, if you wanted to do that, I would leave that right until the end. And then if you've got spare time, maybe you do it. But that is super unlikely to take you into a different grading level. Michelle, it's easier if you combine it as one document, but you can submit it as a separate if you want.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No worries. Victoria.
Just on appendices. So in my SWOT, one of the measures or the sort of ways of bringing learning back into my organisation, like a two-bird, one stone sort of thing, there was a suggestion of producing sort of one-page guides. I know I've referenced or mentioned them in the chapter, but obviously I'll focus the chapters on the learning, the reading and learning around the objectives specifically. Would the examiner expect to see those guides? Because I was considering putting them in as individual appendices with, some of the feedback, if I've managed to get some, and maybe their development. I haven't quite decided yet, but is that something that's not actually going to add anything in terms of where they're sort of coming from? Is it enough that I've just obviously said in my SWOT and in my chapters that I'm going to pull this together into something that will benefit my organization? Is that enough?
I think it's enough as long as you've explained what you've done and why you've done it.
Okay.
So with that, if you've got some learning guides, maybe what you do is you say one example of these learning guides is Appendix 2.2, right? Rather than all of them, like here's an example if you want to go, if you want to go see it. But it's going to be more about why did you make the choices you made in the context of the theory in your organization. I'll be really honest. I think massive appendices just don't add a lot of value, but maybe one example rather than here's the set of learning guides. I might be tempted to do that. Yeah. Tamsin, no, you're welcome.
Lost the audio button for a second there. You might be able to hear the washing machine as well, which just finished and is singing away to itself. My question's about feedback. So when we're presenting feedback, without going really over the top, but presumably we kind of want to show a range of different people's feedbacks to things to show if things were successful or not. Basically in my head, I'm thinking I've got feedback from the CEO and managing director on something that I did. But really, I want to be getting feedback from people in all of the different business units as well to show that it was good across the board, not just, trying to avoid the whole executive excitement thing. But then isn't that eating up loads of word count? So what's the best way to present something like that? Do you just put in an appendix and kind of do a bit of a summary of in general, it was well received? I know you sort of covered it earlier, but
yeah, no. So I wouldn't say in general it was well received. I think, and this is where it's really difficult for me, that's almost too generic. Yeah. So I would say something, I surveyed 50 people, and actually of that 50, 45 of them described it as useful or an improvement of what we previously had. So it's a bit more specific about the feedback rather than 60 of them quite liked it. I would also think about, again, if I go back to design imagery stuff, actually, could you use something like a word cloud? So actually, here are the most common used words within the feedback. Or do you use a pie chart where you say, actually, this amount of people gave it 4 out of 5, 3 out of 5, 2 out of 5, or whatever. So a way of demonstrated like that. Gemma's use a word cloud. Love a word cloud.
Yeah.
So I would do it that way. So I wouldn't be so vague because it's great evidence, right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be here is all of the feedback verbatim.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the other questions was, what was one of the other questions? 1 second, sorry. One of the other questions was organizational evidence. You don't need to prove everything, but if you have no proof for anything, I think that's probably risky. So I would be looking for organizational evidence on some stuff that you can evidence. Some stuff you can't evidence. And actually, you could talk about anecdotal feedback. Anecdotally, it's early days with this change, but people, people are commenting that they appreciate the effort or they think it's an improvement.
Yeah.
So as much evidence as you can, but don't feel like you have to evidence absolutely everything. And some of your evidence is, I've produced a stakeholder map. And if you think about it, when you started this course 9 months ago, oh my God, has it been 9 months? 8, 9 months? You didn't have that stakeholder map for those that have done stakeholders. That is a piece of evidence that you've put your learning into practice. Now, what's the outcome of that stakeholder map? Maybe we don't know yet, and that's okay. but maybe the feedback on the map is that people can see why it's useful. Or 5 out of 10 people are going to use the map in their next change program. Like, think about those sorts of questions, and without being too mischievous, ask the questions in the way that you want to get the answer. So that's a really good example of a question, right? Do you think you'd use this in your next change program? Yeah, I think I might. Now, whether they do or not is a whole different thing. But if you're saying 9 out of 10 people would consider using it, it's a bit like that, 95% of people agree they look younger after using this face cream or whatever. It's like, yeah, but do they look younger? They just feel that they look younger.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Amy?
Yeah, so mine kind of carries on from that in terms of how do we reference that organizational evidence? Because surely we could just like make it up. So that's why I think I would probably have put it all in the appendix as like, I'm not lying, this is the feedback I got. Because even if we reference it as like email received XYZ date from this person, I mean, like we could just make that up. I don't think anyone here would, but how do we back up that we have done this and it's real feedback and referencing it, but the examiner presumably has no way to check that that's right?
Yeah. There is a large degree of trust in it that what you put in that report is truthful. So you might put if you want to do that and you feel more comfortable, please do that. So if I go back to my survey example, what I might do is just take a screenshot of that question rather than put the whole, if you're in Elena's world, 55 question survey in the appendix. I'm never going to get over that. I'm never letting that go. So you might just put the screenshot of that. So actually you might screenshot an email, and have that evidence to back it up. As you've said that, I would probably do that. But also there is a large degree of trust that you've actually read these sources and thought about them and put them into practice. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
When it comes to submitting, do we have to reattach our SWOT on PDP2 or just reference it? Just reference it in the appendix. No, attach it in the appendix, Simon. So like reference it in your intro and just attach it as at the end as it will probably be appendix 1, I would imagine. Probably best I don't say how many questions we have in our star survey. Probably best you don't. Let's get through this and then we can all celebrate and then we can have a bit of a trauma bonding moment over staff survey questions. So where I've landed, they've got like 50 as well, and it's just like, well, that's going to change. Yeah, it was in sign. Okay, that's all that. Let me just go back to, do you put figures in appendices at the end of chapter? Figures versus appendix items. When I'm going to mention organised evidence. So a figure is when you have a visual figure in your report. Now that might be a table, that's still a figure. It might be a graph. It might be a snippet. It might be an illustration of like Quirk's escalator. Figure 1, Quirk's escalator. The appendix is where you've got supporting evidence to back up a point you've made. So that's kind of to Amy's point of, my CEO emailed me and said it was the best. It was the best town hall they'd ever seen in their entire life. See appendix 2, and then that's the appendix is the email. Now they're a little bit interchangeable because if you wanted to, within that you could say my CEO emailed me and said it was best town hall in their life. Figure 1, email from CEO, and then actually you wouldn't even need to put that in the appendix. So you have a choice. So that's why sometimes they're a bit confusing. I can't remember who answered that question. Does that help? Yeah.
Chris, really quickly on the figures, I was like embedding them within the body of text when I reference them for like to make it easier viewing. Is that the right approach, or should it go like you do with appendix? I don't know what the plural is. I don't know how to say it.
Appendices, no, I keep
end.
getting it wrong, so don't worry. No, no, yes, it should. I'm going to show you an example of a report, not an example of someone's portfolio, Stella, before you have a heart attack. So this is a report that was done, and actually some of you, I think, have referenced this. I definitely sent it to some of you, right? So this is the level of design. Like, it's not like mind-blowing design, right? Contents, overview, bullets, like grey box. I mean, this here should, for the portfolio, should be referenced as a figure. So this might be figure 1, self as an enabler model. But it's in the text, right? And it should be, your figure should come after you've mentioned it. So you've mentioned the self as an enabler, see figure 1, To keep your word count down a little bit, when I create this image, I would also create the subtitle of figure 1 self-enabler model within the image, because then that text is part of the image rather than underneath. Yeah. So that's how you would do that as a figure. And again, this is, they've done it here. So they've put this as a figure. Figure 1, the focus of leadership theory over time. I think the figure needs to go underneath, the text goes underneath the figure, not on top, would be the correct way to do it. But this is the level of design. And, there's like little side elements there, bullets, table, stuff like that. Okay.
And sorry, Chris, are you saying the captions wouldn't count in the word count?
If you created them as part of the image. So if you say on Google Slides or something, or any other Microsoft, if you put it on slides and then put the text underneath as the subtitle of, like, I don't know, Vimid, whatever this is, Vision Olympic ring model. I don't know what it is. It looks like Olympic rings. And then screen grab or save as a JPEG, the figure plus the reference to the figure, then that wouldn't count as your word count.
And how, because you have to reference images, you say like accessed at with the URL, that wouldn't be against the referencing rules. Because if they then went to said URL and it didn't have the caption within the image itself, am I making sense?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Right.
that's fine. So if I were to make this as an example, go on, ask again.
No, sorry, my other question was, how will they know that that's not included in the word count? Like, do they just sort of take your word for it? Because to the naked eye, it would just look the same as if you put a box underneath it in Canva. Do you see what I mean? Like, in terms of, do they just trust?
So the word count software wouldn't pick it up because it would have it as an image. It would count it as an image.
I see. Okay.
Does that make sense? So here's how I would make
know.
my image. So I would screen grab, because I use screen grab, but that's going to be low quality. So, like, you don't want to have it big. And now what you can see is the text is part of the image. So therefore it doesn't pick up on word count. That's a bit of a, not cheating, but yeah. Amy.
This might be a super specific question, but when I've been looking at like stakeholder mapping, I've pulled all of the stuff that I've referenced from one site that summarized them all, but I'm assuming when I'm criticizing them, I'm going to have to reference the original model, not a source that's referenced that source.
Yeah. You would, I don't know. So if, like, let's say I've done a paper and I've got a synthesization and critique of, I use the same authors because they're the ones that we see all the time: Quirk, Smythe, Fitzpatrick, Mann. If you are talking about my critique of them, then you would reference me. If you are talking about their models, you would need to reference them individually.
Okay, and if we if we have an image and let's say it's an email from internally, do we need to put that in our references? If it's like figure 1 and we've said figure 1 email from CEO received whatever, would we need to put that in our reference list as well, or is it just...
No, your references are sources that you're citing.
Okay.
Your figures are evidence. Now, if you use a figure that is citing a source, and let's say Cialdini's 7 influencing things, and you've made it a table, like to, bring it all in and keep the word count, then you would reference Cialdini. But the reason you're referencing Cialdini is more because you're talking about their work rather than the fact you've done a figure. So what you wouldn't ever have is here's a figure of Cialdini's 7 influencing levers, but you haven't spoken about their work. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so it just happens that they're a figure, but you don't need your figures in your referencing list.
And again, sorry, everyone else, but if you have a
Stop
table
saying sorry.
where you're comparing a bunch of theories and you've referenced each theory, like you've referenced it within the table, in the figure, would you have to re-reference everyone you've referenced, or is that just implied? This might be like, this is really like picky questions, so maybe they wouldn't care, but yeah.
That figure for me would be figure 7, comparison table of influencing models.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
That's okay. Elena.
I think I know what the answer is, which is that you'll say there isn't one. But is there, and I'm just conscious because it's not a bibliography, it's not every source we've consulted in this research so far, it's just what we've used in the paper. I guess what I'm nervous about is the saying that you haven't used enough sources. Even though I've read tons, I just haven't applied them all necessarily to the writing I'm using. Do you have an idea or an estimate of how many different sources we should be using in our references? Is it 20? Is it 50? Is it 10? Or does it just depend so much on what your actual portfolio is?
Oh, that's a really good question. Like I think over 3 objectives, if you've got more than 20 sources, I would be super disappointed if there was feedback that you didn't read broadly enough. Now, what I would say, and I haven't seen anyone do this, there's also quality of sources. So if you are talking about organizational culture and you don't mention Shine, Handy, Hofstede, like some of these people, if I was the examiner, I'd be like, hold on, how have you managed to do stuff on culture, but not the ones that everyone else references? Now, what you can do, Elena, is, again, focus on getting your draft and everything done first, right? That's the most important thing. When you do your final review, if you have word count, you can sort of shoehorn in a couple of more sources, right?
Yeah.
By actually, hold on a minute. These five authors are saying you should consider communication objectives before you start a communication plan. Well, actually, there's 2 more over there that agree. Like, so just that, if you've got the word count. But I think if you've got more than 20, I would say you're in a really, really good place. Yeah, for sure.
Frantically counting mine now. So we'll see. That is really helpful.
That's okay. Probably best. Is that Comic Sans? Yeah, I showed that as a design, like as in a, like, this is what you can get away with. I hope it wasn't Comic Sans, but it wasn't great font, was it? When I caught up with Dan, he mentioned putting the reference beside the figures, e.g. figure 11. Yes, if that figure is just on that reference. So if I go back to Cialdini's 7 levers of influencing, I would have figure 11, Cialdini's 7 influencing levers, 2018. I don't know the date. Like that, yes. If it was a figure I'd created, then I wouldn't have Coben 2026. I would have, table of different influencing models and appropriateness to my organization. Yeah. Thank you, Victoria. I've included internal documents and templates as a reference on the Solent website. It looks like an unpublished source. Yes, thank you again, Victoria. That is super helpful as well. Have I answered all the questions? Do you know what? Can I just say as well, like every other year I've done this, the questions are, what's the word count? So I try my best not to roll my eyes at that point. So thank you for like actually asking questions that should be asked at this stage of the thing. And also apologies if someone was about to ask what the word count is and now you feel too awkward to do so. Yeah. Anything else? How are you feeling? Confidence 1 to 10.
6.5.
I'll take 6.5. Okay. I love that. Also, I should have 7. I'll take stressed about design. Please, Leanne, don't worry about design. Get the copy, and let's see what we've got time-wise at the end. But if it's a Word document and it's nicely laid out, it's enough, I promise you. Okay. Tamsin's emoji reaction gives me a bit more confidence than Victoria's, but
I'm still
okay.
really struggling with word count. Like all of mine
Yeah.
are still over. They're all there, but they all still need words taken out. And I'm really nervous about taking out so much it looks like you've not read anything or done anything, but then also shoehorning quotes in every line that then the examiner's like, you haven't had any chance to critique it or apply it because it's just reference after reference. So any tips anybody's got for cutting down but without getting rid of the substance, if you like, I would appreciate.
Anyone?
Stony silence. I just have to send it to you then, Chris, and you can help me chop it up.
Yeah, Matt, I was just
I
gonna
can-
say I did send one to Chris like a month ago, and Chris showed me how to write much more concisely. I think you did like my first paragraph, didn't you, Chris? And it helped so much because I was, even though I thought I was doing everything really succinctly, I was still really fluffy. I was still using a lot of words I didn't have to. And so when Chris did that for me, it really helped me rewrite. And I think I saved about 1,000 words in one rewrite. So it was really
Right,
good.
I will send Chris what I've got then, and he can hopefully help me. Yeah, trim words. I thought I was good at writing concisely. You know, we were comms professionals for a living, but clearly not.
We're so fluffy. And some of it is just being more active and direct in your language, right? So the classic one I see is in this chapter, I will explore the relationship between stakeholder management and communication plans. And I'm like, this chapter compares stakeholder mapping and comms plans. Like it's like, because we're so engaging in how we write and we're so human and empathetic, this is a really different style of writing. And you might sit and think, well, I'm never going to do this again unless you're going to do the masters. More on that next week. We're not ready for that. We'll push that a few weeks. But actually, as you get into more senior roles, if you have to write board reports or like, you need to be a bit more like this. So it will be a useful style, although I accept your current style is much more useful. And you're right, Victoria, academic writing is tough. Like it's so difficult because you're just not used to it. It's not natural. And also, Victoria, you don't have to apologize for your original reflection. Like I was just teasing you. It's fine. It's all good. Any other questions? Shall I quickly just skip through the slides I was going to present, just in case there's anything that we've actually missed? Introduce objectives, critique theory, implement in practice, what you learn. Please, in that last conclusion, because it is quite a few, I think it's like 15 or 20% of your marks, make sure you demonstrate your overall reflective learning. So obviously in your chapters, you're going to demonstrate what you've done with theory, how you've put it into practice, etc. Your final one is like, this is what I've learned from the entire advanced diploma. And here's what I'm going to do with it. Like, how are you going to continue learning? It's about submission. The 3,500 word count, if you have a look on the marking criteria, you get your 10% wiggle room. So that's another 350 words. I know that doesn't feel a lot. And then depending on your grading, like actually, I think it's up to like another 15% in the pass region. But obviously that then like limits you where you can be elsewhere. That I covered. Check the assessment brief. Kelly.
Is anyone else's feedback that they're getting a bit wishy-washy? So for example, I did a big piece of work, launched a new channel, asked my manager for feedback. I was like, oh, Kelly, this is really good. This is going to really improve communications and yada, yada, yada. I went back and I was like, that's pants feedback. I need something which is like, yes, this is what you've done really well. In future, this is what you can improve on. That's what I was looking for. But am I right to go back and tell them to improve it? Or is it okay just to include their wishy-washy, I've put no thought into this feedback?
Yeah, I mean, in a weird way, it probably helps you that they're saying, yeah, this is going to improve communication. So I would go back to, it depends how you ask for feedback. So I think if and originally when you said feedback was wishy-washy, I was like, oh, have I not done a good enough job? So I'm really glad it's not me, it's in your organization. But I would say, what is the one thing I could have done differently? Or how could I improve this? How could I make this even better? So I would force them to answer that question. That won't always work though, Kelly, because some people just don't like delivering bad news. But it's not bad news. So it depends on the culture of your organization, the relationship with the person, stuff like that. But in terms of for your report, this is going to improve communication and this is a great piece of work. For your portfolio is really helpful. For you, you might then go back outside of this and sort of push them a bit more.
Yeah, because it doesn't really help me in the long term, you know?
No, I think what went well, even better if. I love what went well, even better if. So what do you like about it? What would you change about it? What would make it even better? And if you position it as what would make it even better, for some people, it's easier to answer because you're not saying what's rubbish, what don't you like. You're getting them to future focus on how they could improve it. And if if they don't like critiquing, it might help them a little bit. Bye, Elena. I'll be honest, I'm flicking through these slides, which definitely need an update because they're not very well designed at all. Clear structured narrative. Yeah, I don't think there's anything to add. I think your questions were good. Yeah. Yeah, I've got nothing else for you. Okay. Any last comments or last questions, or set you free for lunch or whatever else you need? Okay.
Nope.
I think what I'm going to do with the next cohort is take a group photo of like day one where everyone thinks it's going to be really easy and they're super enthusiastic. And then a photo at this point where they're like, oh, what have I done? I really hope you've enjoyed this diploma because I've seen so much from so many of you where you've like learned a lot. But I do also recognize it's hard. And however much I say at the beginning of each diploma, this is really hard. I think until you start doing it, you don't realize how difficult it is. So I know you've all put a lot of work in, and for some of you, well, you've had then other challenges outside of this week. Yeah, every week's a heavy week now. What's happened to the world, Claire? Fridays used to be quiet, not anymore. Yes, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that chapter. Cool. Okay, so you know where I am. Ping me stuff. I know I've got a couple of you to go through. I think Richie sent me something through as well, so I'll get through those. I've got a whole advanced diploma day tomorrow, so you'll hear back from me. And I know I've got a couple of calls with some of you tomorrow as well, and then next week. So anything I can do to help, please do ask. But you're almost there. Brilliant. Have a lovely day and a lovely weekend. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Chris.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.